he said, it was very sweet. He said all his life, when he was a little boy, he dreamt of playing at the klezmer in Tzfat. And I was thinking that was his dream. Ever hear Broadway, and so I used to be involved in theater and whatever. And my dream would be like, to be in Hollywood or something, and now, or to be on the screen, the movie screen. Now my dream is to be on tour anytime. So this is like the closest thing to it, is that I'm on a screen. So yeah. Anyways,
Hi.
Alana, was that a comment?
Yeah.
Anyway, so good morning, ladies. I'm using this, by the way. This is a recommendation, 5 shekels at Green Toys. It's really great. It really helps. Any stress or anything that you want, it ends up looking like all sorts of things. There's also this thing. Have you seen this thing? This is like, it'll just keep you occupied for a very long time. If you have a mind like mine, it comes in great colors. Anyways, all these different things. This is free advice. Really love you guys. Okay. Elisheva is over here because she's my chavrusa, and we're going to learn afterwards.
Oh, Elisheva. Let's see Elisheva.
Yeah, just in case you think she's not involved, she's here.
Where are you doing? Hey, Elisheva.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Hey, Elisheva.
How about that night, huh? Another round. Back in the punching box with those guys, right?
Okay, so this is just, many people know that we're supposed to live with the Parsha. Well, it has been quite easy. Like, you don't have to even look into it to read into the Parsha, especially this week is unbelievable. And we have a very, very practical lesson from it that hopefully is going to help us all. And I have a story also, B'ezrat Hashem, we should have time, and I don't get muted after, whatever. Anyways, okay, so this Dvar Torah is from this book, which I totally recommend. It's Rav Tzadok Cohen on the Parsha, and it's just like 2-3 pages on the Parsha, easy to understand, deep, beautiful stuff. Okay, so if you want to just have something just to look at the Parsha, I read it almost every week after lift benching. It's a great book. Okay, so we know what the Shlach Lecha, right, is one of the most tragic. People are talking. It's really one of the most tragic and complicated events in the whole story. We know the story. These tzaddikim who went up to Eretz Israel, and they came back with a bad report. How could it be? How could it be? The Medrash says that these spies were tzaddikim in the eyes of Hashem and in the eyes of Moshe. These were tzaddikim. So keep that in mind. It's not, they were tzaddikim, right? So Rav Tzadok explains that when the spies arrived in Eretz Israel, they realized that, guess what? The Jewish people were not worthy of such a holy place. They weren't. In the Midbar, they reached a great, great, great spiritual heights, right? They had manna from heaven. They had water from the miracle well. They achieved spiritual heights that were never before achieved. But they weren't permanent. These things were not permanent. It was made possible only by their miraculous sustenance, right? Everything, holy food, holy water, sanctified their body until they became known as what? The Dor Deah, the generation of wisdom. These were people on very, very high levels. So when the spies saw what was going on in Eretz Israel, they were awestruck by the sanctity of the land, and they felt that they were unworthy of inheriting such an extraordinary place. And if they wouldn't have bread from heaven and water from miracle wells, only earthly food, then for sure they're not going to be able to make it, right? They're going to have to obtain the food themselves, and they're not going to be able to make it. So if the spies felt they weren't, who were tzaddikim, weren't worthy, how much more so would this be for the rest of the Jewish people, right? So Rav Tzadok says that this was far from slander. Wasn't there. They didn't come back and say, well, the prices are so high and. No, it wasn't like that. When they returned, devastated by their own realizations, they felt obligated to deliver a report, the news that in their mind was absolute truth. This is the situation. It ain't good. So what was their big avera? What was their sin? The Zohar says that their sin was they did not have complete faith. Amuna Shalema. Rav Tzad explains what is whole faith? A level of faith in Hashem that defies ordinary human understanding. We just don't get it. And that's where we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be at a place like, okay, we put our hands up. We don't get it. We don't get it. I think you know where I'm going with this. Rav Tzadok gives the example of Avram Avinu, good old Avram Avinu, right? Hashem promised Avram Avinu their descendants would be as great as the stars of the Shemayim, right? Stars of the heaven. And it says that the stars of the Shemayim are a metaphor for tzaddikim. Hashem promised Avram Avinu all his descendants are going to be tzaddikim. So, and what does Avram Avinu respond to that? It says he believed in Hashem, and Hashem considered this as righteousness. And by the way, this is a pasuk that's in chapter 4 in Chavos Ulavavos that Rabbeinu Bachai brings as a source of what's proper bitachon. How did Avram Avinu say, okay, all my descendants are going to be tzaddikim? How could he? Surely somebody somewhere is going to go wrong. Why does Avram Avinu deserve such recognition and honor? Who wouldn't believe Hashem if Hashem was coming and telling him this? Avram was unable to understand how such a promise could be fulfilled, that all his children would be tzaddikim, because we have free choice, right? One could choose not to be righteous. Regardless of this intellectual quandary, Avram even believed in Hashem's promise. Why? Because Hashem promised. That's it. He didn't allow his logic to stand in the way and of his total faith in Hashem, and therefore Hashem considered Avram Avinu's response as righteousness. Like I said, this is a section that Shar Bitron, Rabbeinu Bachai brings in. Okay, back to the spies. Rabbeinu Tzadok explains that Hashem expected from the spies this type of Amunah Shalema, this type of complete faith. Even though they were faced with facts and logic that seriously challenged, right? Even though A, they and their brethren were unworthy of the land. B, even if they would not have superfood, they would not have man from heaven, they would not have a super miracle well, Hashem would help them. It would help them grow and become sufficiently righteous to inherit the land. They would succeed in this paschal mission. Why? Simply because Hashem promised that they would. So when things look difficult, right? I wrote here, heavy sigh. When things look difficult, we need to strengthen our what? This is straight from the book. I could show you. Strengthen our bitachon in Hashem, and know that Hashem knows 100% that we need to know that 100% it's Hashem and Hashem alone that is running the show. We talk about this all the time. Rabbeinu Bachai talks about this all the time in Shar Bitachon. It's not a 90-10 relationship. It's not a 99.9 relationship. It's 100% Hashem. Whatever the odds are, it doesn't matter. We can be sure of success even when it appears to be beyond our capabilities. It has nothing to do with how many tanks we have, how many airplanes they have, how much know-how we have, how much know-how they have, none of it. This is exactly what was going on. This is exactly what is going on in this week's parsha. And it says that when Avram Avinu left Mitzrayim, when Avram Avinu was told by Hashem, Lech Lecha, it says he was 75 years old. Why do we need to know how old he was? And there's many places in the Torah where things happen, but we don't know how old. It doesn't tell the age. So this is from the Bas Ein. It says that Avram Avinu was 75 years old. 75 is the gematria of bitachon. Yeah, so the Bas Ein says what gave the koach to Avram Avinu to leave his homeland is that he had bitachon. And how many soldiers did he have in his army? 318, which is what? The gematria of Avraham and bitachon. And there's a few other gematrias my son Menachem David came up with. Amuna, the gematria of Amuna and bitachon equals the Akedah.
Wow.
Bitachon is the same gematria as Lama. When Lama, why are we getting woken up again? Lama, my appointment that I waited for 6 months, it was canceled. Lama is when, turn to the bitachon. Ma'yeh, what's going to be? Gematria of bitachon. Do you know Ma'yeh? Do I know Ma'yeh? We only know one thing, is that it's going to be good. The gematria of Ma'yeh is bitachon. So I have to tell you this story because it's really has to do with what's going on now. And I've said this before, and it's my life is learning Shar B'Tachon, and how much it's during these times is, if anything's helped, it's been learning Shar B'Tachon. And you could join us on Zoom. We do a Zoom class on Wednesday mornings at 9:30. So if you want, you could join that class. Okay, so listen to this. This is exactly what Shir Yehudit was talking about before, when she said that in a way it's easier this time because we don't have so much choice, right? She was like with Lebanon, it was like we're trying to figure out, like, should we do this, should we do that? But now it's like, okay, everywhere, the whole country. Okay, so
there's nowhere to go. No, it's not better or safer anywhere else.
there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go. There's no safer than anywhere else. Okay, this story is from this book, which I totally recommend. It's the article Shara B'Tachon. Okay, B'Tachon when danger is unavoidable. When Germany sought to conquer Warsaw, Poland during World War II, its planes dropped bombs daily on the city, destroying building after building and killing its inhabitants. Many choose to seek shelter in basements. I just went off. I don't know if on my thing. Okay, here.
And ours too.
Oh, okay.
You're back.
So many chose to choose shelter in the basements where, but even they were not safe there, because if a building were to be hit directly, the ones in the basement would be buried under rubble with no place to escape. So at the time, the Brisker Rav Yitzhak Zev Soloveitchik, was sheltered in the apartment of a Warsaw Jew by the name of Rav Yaakov Tansmet. The Rav ruled that the basement was not any safer than the building. So each night he would go to sleep on a regular bed in his host's second floor apartment, and in fact, sleep peacefully. His hosts were amazed. How could he sleep when at any time the house might be turned into rubble? Even more perplexing was that the Rav was known for his extreme concern for the slightest chance of danger. Yet in this time of certain danger, he was serene. The Brisker Rav explained, I am not afraid of the danger because I know that Hashem is watching over us. We see a David Melch when in flight from Avshalom, trusted in Hashem's protection from the constant danger, and said until him, I lay down and slept, yet I woke, for Hashem supports me. When I do show concern for danger, it is not the threat of death that I fear. This is it. This is the important part, guys. It is not the threat of death that I fear. My concern is only that I may have not fulfilled my obligation to protect myself. Perhaps I've not taken all the measures to avoid peril that halacha demands. In our situation, there is no possibility of escaping or even minimizing the danger. The risks of sleeping in the house as opposed to staying in the cellar are equal. Nowhere in the city is safer than anywhere else. Since I am certain that there's nothing I can do to protect myself, I know I have discharged my obligation and I can feel serene. Oh, wouldn't that be nice if we could all get to that level? Now listen to this. The host's daughter related that they later found several bombs on the roof of their building that had miraculously failed to explode. Does having Bitachon save you? Looks like it, right? So I bless myself. I bless all of us too. We have a lot of tools in our toolbox. And right now it's Amunah Bitachon. And that's what's going to get us through this. And whatever it is, turn on a share, get a safe, or get a kavrusa, whatever it is. It's the only way that we're going to get through this, is knowing that Hashem is on our side and Hashem loves us. And it's only Hashem that's going to get us out of this. And we've been through this many, many times. And I'm not talking about this war or that war. I'm talking about since Avram Avinu and all the stuff that we've had to deal with. So l'chaim, that we should all have the proper Amunah Shalema, complete Bitachon in Hashem and in nobody else, not in any of the politicians, not this one said this and that one said this. And just remember, for every minute of the news that you're watching, you could be saying Tehillim, and you decide what you think is more effective. Thank you.
Good point. Good point.
Very, very good point.
Thank you very much, Doba. That was very beautiful.
Ec-
Certainly gives us
And certainly
awesome chizuk,
appropriate.
which we need. So, okay, I'm going to, we're continuing our learning the code of Jewish conduct, the laws of Bein Adam Lechavero. We started the laws of Bikur Cholim. And just a little quick review, the main points of the mitzvah, the essential things that one has to do to fulfill this mitzvah is taking care of a patient's physical needs, giving him emotional support and showing him that you share their pain, praying for him in his presence, praying for her in her presence, and then also taking away 1/60th of their illness. So I want to talk a little bit about tefillah right now. This is actually the main component of the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim. It's davening for someone, and preferably in their presence. So whoever actually doesn't daven for someone has not really fulfilled the mitzvah properly. I have to say, I didn't know. I don't stand in somebody's hospital room or in their bedroom, davening, but this we learn is an essential part of the mitzvah. There are some who hold that it's best not to visit a person during the first 3 hours of the day. They look their best. You would look at them and you say, wow, you're really not sick. You look great. Or the last hours of the day, you would say, wow, you look terrible. It's hopeless. And you might not daven for them fully. You might. Others say that that's actually, it's more of a technical thing. And the first 3 hours of the morning, if you're in the hospital, doctors come around then, that's when nurses give their treatment. You don't want to interfere. And the end of the day, it's the same thing. That's usually when people get their treatment. But if you're in any way, if the hospital has certain visiting hours and you can only go at certain hours, so you go when you can go. It's certainly better to, the best thing is to be there whenever you can. And in general, so it says that there are two values, there are two benefits to davening in a person's presence. So one is that you see them suffering and you see their pain, and you're more likely to daven with sincerity. I have this whole list of people that I daven for every day. It's, some days I really focus on each one. Some days I just kind of speed through it. When somebody's in front of you and you see that they're not feeling well, it opens up your heart. And the second reason is that, as we've said, the Shechina rests over the head of a choleh and cholah. And so when you're actually going to be saying your prayers directly to the Shechina in this, for this person's welfare. Okay, so How do you do this? So we know this. You use the person's name and their mother's name, not their father's name, their mother's name. And you don't use their last name. You don't use any, harav, hagadol. You don't use any of the titles that a person might have. The expression refuah shlema is not really considered a tefillah. I mean, it's a nice thing to say. But it has to be in the context of a longer tefillah and a greater tefillah. And so a little bit more than refuah shlema is required. And then if the person is really quite sick, then it's family members or whoever should go to a gadol, go to a tzaddik, and ask them to give a bracha for this person's refuah. Okay, we also have the custom of davening publicly for a person's refuah. So we have in shul, right? Usually at the time of Kriyas Torah, so we say a mishaberach. So he who blesses our forefathers should bless so and so. That's the basic text of what you're going to be saying. What's the priority in terms of visiting a sick person? Like, where does it fall in the hierarchy of our requirement for mitzvos? So let's say you have to go be menachem avos someone. You have to go to a funeral. Does that take precedence over visiting a sick person? So actually it does. If you have a choice and they're both happening at the same time, you can only do one of them, then it's preferable that you go to a funeral. If you have a choice, then you should be mavaker cholim first. That would be more important. And then in terms of giving tzedakah, so one of the great priorities in giving tzedakah is money to build a shul. But actually, if it comes against the choice of taking care of the sick, like building a hospital, that takes preference over even a shul. That's how important Bikur Cholim is. I think maybe that's why there are so many Jewish hospitals in the world. Jews gave money to build hospitals. Jews want people to live and to be well. Okay, so there are instances where a person is exempt from being mavaker cholim. If somebody's very sick, if someone has a serious contagious disease, best to stay away, best not to go visit them. Excuse me. If the person's not really that sick, so you have to sort of examine yourself, like is an excuse. Somebody has a cold, somebody has pneumonia, somebody has chas v'shalom, may have anything, but if it's not a real life-threatening disease, then you certainly should. Hashem will protect you, and you should take the risk, and you should go see them. Also, it's recommended that you not go visit a person who you're in the midst of a fight, if you're at odds with them. So for example, if you're having a fight with a person, I mean, they might feel that you're coming to show you're happy that they're sick, chas v'shalom. But on the other hand, it might be a wonderful opportunity for both of you to set aside any ill feelings. You're showing your genuine concern for the person. Person feels like you're concerned about them. You made the effort to come and see them. Sometimes it's best to ask somebody to check it out for you. Do you think so-and-so would want me to come visit them? And hopefully they will. And hopefully if everybody handles it right, it's going to be an opportunity to clean things up. So in general, we have to be sensitive to what the person's condition is and how they're feeling. I mean, there's some people who just may not, they have difficult stomach issues and it's embarrassing for them, or they have a terrible headache, a blinding headache, or and they're in terrible pain, or you know, other things are going on for them, and it's kind of uncomfortable for them to, physically uncomfortable for them to have you be there. You have to find out, you have to ask, you have to try and be sensitive. If you see that the person is restless or whatever, you know, make it short visit, come express your good wishes for them, say your tefillah. But even when you can't really go in to see them, then you can stand outside and, you know, wish them well from the outside as warmly as you possibly can. And you pray for them, you daven for them right there where you are. Okay, and that is all for the day. Just a few announcements, if I may. Like, why not? Just shut this